All right, everybody, welcome back. Big show. Mick was working, doing the race that he was... Where were you, Mick?
Yeah, down at the King of MX at Condobolin.
How was it?
Yeah, bloody awesome. Pretty hot. Pretty dusty. Yeah, she's a pretty dusty joint, but some good racing over a few days with the juniors and seniors, and yeah, looks to be a good series. Yeah,
so Mick was doing that. I had a bit of family stuff going on, so I spent all of last week in Cairns, which is why we missed the last couple of Supercross companions. And then, Mick was away, so we couldn't pull it together for yesterday. But got a pretty action-packed show today. I don't know, I feel weird calling this a show. It's just two dudes talking. But whatever this is action-packed for this little one we're doing today, because yesterday in Seattle was a pretty wild affair. The track was sick. The racing was good from like the heats to the mains, and it sort of left you guessing the entire time. Also, shout out to our boy Chad and JB, those guys, and Chisholm too. They were in a pretty bad crash on the first lap, and then that crash maybe has affected the championship, like in its entirety, not just the points chase last night.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's definitely going to interfere with it. First lap crash like that is pretty dramatic. Well,
just like the points repercussions that will happen. Obviously, we're going to get into it a little bit. Mick's going to sort of start to read the topics, and then we're just going to, I guess, wrap out just our thoughts on it. I'm still sort of getting my head around it, but that crash in particular could well be a deciding factor in this championship. Because obviously with the crash happening and then Marvin jumping on the red cross flag and then the penalties that were assessed, like that could be a huge turning point in this series. So we're going to dive into that. Before I do that though, I haven't been doing the sponsor reads for the YouTube stuff, which I probably should. Been lagging. Our sponsor for this show, as always, is these deadly duds from Nobby. If you follow the podcast on iTunes, not just this Supercross companion stuff, you will know that we have been supported by Nobby for a long time. So pretty much what it is, I can't remember what month this is, but this it's like a subscription underwear service. You get a new pair of undies every month. It's $20 a month. You head to nobbyunderwear.com.au. Go check those guys out. We just spoke about Chad and his crash. Chad is actually a fully fledged member of the Nobby Nation. So Chad's on that program as well. I'm obviously on that program. They are pretty epic when it comes to all the shit that I like doing, which is surfing, riding motocross, jiu-jitsu, all that good stuff. And then sitting down getting ball sweat during 3-hour podcasts as well. So anyway, big shout out to them, and also a big shout out to the guys at Boost Mobile. To say we rely on them is probably an understatement. Mick is on them all the time, and Mick is you're uploading these shows because your Wi-Fi shit at your house, right? So you like actually drive into town and
pretty much country
boy Mick.
Mate, I'm pretty much a bushman.
And how many podcast segments have you uploaded on Boost Mobile Network, you reckon?
A couple hundred gigs worth. That's in probably the last 6 weeks. So yeah, we've been on Boost for good part of half a year now. Yeah. And podcast wise, and obviously other content that I do as well. It's just been huge. We've a couple hundred gig in the last few months easily. Yeah, and it's great. Yeah, dude, they're the shit. So shout out to those guys. Thank you for being a part of the show. Mick, what is our first topic we're going to talk about today? Well, let's get on to the track. Track's one topic. What do you think of that?
I was sort of with. I heard Ricky say in the booth that he didn't respect the track at the start when he was sort of walking it, and I looked at the track map as well, and I don't know whether they were planning on it raining at Seattle, because I think this is the first year in I don't even know how long that it's actually been a dry Seattle. Yeah. So I think they were maybe predicting rain with that. I'm not sure. That's sort of complete speculation on my part. But yeah, it wasn't like a crazy technical layout. There was nothing that really jumped out at me. The whoop section was big. But even like Ken and the boys in the press conference even said that they didn't think that the whoop section would be as difficult what it was. It seemed pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, even the dudes were doing that quad, and then they've obviously got a 180-degree bowl turn, like pretty standard. But those whoops, really, that was like the thing of the night, really. So for me, I think the track was... I don't know if you'd say it was one of the better tracks of the year, but I think it provided us with one of the better tracks of the year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, for sure. Definitely does.
So yeah, that was cool. The whoops were crazy, and I said I was just watching the race with Ricky last night, so I didn't have any of the boys over or anything. It was just me and her on the couch watching it, and I said to her when I sort of first saw that they started jumping it, that Marvin would win tonight. I mean, that's not exactly a Nostradamus prediction at all. Like, obviously everyone knows he's the man when it comes to skimming those whoops. Jumping through those whoops. But that sort of did prove to be accurate. I was pretty surprised that the guys couldn't adapt to jumping them quicker. And I think that, like, I will straight up admit that I've never seen a group of guys at a test track jump through whoops, ever.
With the box of tricks that you got, you'd think, you can see the success that on certain tracks that Marv has obviously jumping through.
Yeah. It's his saving grace at times, eh?
It is. It's his thing.
Yeah.
You'd think the others would adapt on certain tracks, obviously, to maybe... I know it's a style thing and that comes from years and years of riding, but you think there might be an adaptation there for certain tracks?
It's funny, man. I wonder with Marv, because, like, you've got to think about the Euro thing, right? Like, those dudes don't grow up doing Supercross. So for the guys that don't grow up doing Supercross, what's the hardest part of the track? The whoops.
Whoops, yeah.
So then you get a guy like Marv that comes over, and obviously, like, he's fucking amazing at Supercross.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling that when he first started riding Supercross, he had to jump through the whoops. And it was almost like he did it backwards, to where he had to just get around at the start, he had to jump through those whoops. And like I said, you get to these test tracks, man, and they build these whoops solely to skim. And they don't let them get to the point where they break down so bad that you do have to jump them. And a lot of times they're fast. Like, what they want to do is, these guys at the test tracks, they try and prepare the riders for, like, the gnarliest conditions that they could possibly face on the weekend. So that's why we've seen test tracks with huge whoops, like crazy whoops over the years. But no one's really building sets that you have to jump through. So I don't think any of these guys are really practicing it. And Wygant brought it up at the press conference, which I thought was really cool. And shout out to Wygant for probably being the best journalist in the sport, really. But yeah, he asked Eli and he asked Ken what they thought if they would now start practicing jumping through the whoops. And I mean, Ken said, like, well, their track, it's just, that's not how it really works. But none of those tracks, it's how it works. Like, none of them are built or set up to do that. So I really think with the way that Marv, if it comes down to a race where everybody is skimming the, jumping through the whoops, and that is the fastest way, like, you're almost guaranteed that Marv's going to win that race. It's weird. I don't think we've ever had a dude that is a specialist to that degree, to where it's like make or break for everybody else, which is really cool. I want to pull up something real quick, actually. The press conference, Jimmy Dakotas was talking about press conference. Jimmy Dakotas said that he is really hoping that they do the big whoops more. Sorry, I'm just YouTubing some shit, guys. Bit sloppy on my behalf. Just get it to this Jimmy Dakotas bit. But yeah, it was cool. They asked him what he thought of the track. Oh, here we go. Just took a bit of a refresh. Here we go.
You.
The whoops are honestly, they were really good all day. I felt like I was probably one of the better guys in them. I'm sure these two were the other two I felt I were strong in them. But in the main event, it turned into a jump line, and I wasn't really confident in the jump line, but I just went with what everyone else was doing and kind of struggled in them. But overall, I like that we have big, long set of whoops. I think it's something we need at all these races to separate guys. When we have those little whoops, it's just like we're racing professional Supercross. We should have big whoops.
Totally agree. I think that I agree, but then on like the flip side of it is sometimes, man, you go to like, for anyone that's been to a Supercross and that has seen like the B practice. Have you been to a Supercross yet over there? Yeah. So did you watch like the B practice in the morning early? Fucking sketchy. Crazy. It is crazy. So like you're talking about when you get a big whoop section, like, I mean, Seattle was a good example because it did separate people and it was hard to sort of jump and not jump. But when you get like a big ballsy, like Phoenix Supercross a few years ago had like a pretty sick set of whoops and there was like a lot of carnage in it, and the big dogs, it's obvious. So it's like, I get it on that side, and I do agree that at that level you should be building the gnarliest shit, but then at the same time, like sometimes that almost handicaps the racing because you do only get 3 dudes that can hit the whoops that good. And I mean, you look at the era of Chad, Ricky, and James, 3 of the best dudes to go through the whoops. And then even like Chad was so much better than everybody else, and then at times James was that much better than Chad. And then you started getting into a situation where, like, I don't know if a lot of people know, but James would set up his bike just for the whoops. That was it. So he'd sacrifice everything else so he could be the fastest dude through the whoops. So, I mean, historically in Supercross, the guy who can get through the whoops the best is oftentimes a guy that can win races. And I think these days there's not as much separation in the 450 class. I think the guys that are in that top 5 sort of group are all as good, and the guys that are even in the 5 to 7, 5 to 8 can all sort of get through it. And I think it comes down to like bike setup and things like that, which I think also was apparent on the weekend. Like, because you haven't seen the full race yet, eh?
I've seen the highlights.
Yeah, so dude, Sealy looked amazing through the whoops. Dino looked amazing through the whoops. Tall dudes, both tall dudes. Ken's not a super tall dude, but he was really good through the whoops in the heat race. So I think like bike setup is massive. But for Jimmy, what he's talking about now in the lights class, I think is where it really makes a difference. Because to get through the whoops on a lights bike, there's not as much finesse. It's straight up fucking send. And Jimmy's a dude that's stoked to press send because you don't have the power to keep pulling you through. So you've got to be super high entry speed and get up on top and stay up on top. There's no building momentum through whoops on a 250F like there is on a 450. So yeah, I mean, I do agree with Jimmy, but then there definitely is another side of the coin in that conversation, because it's like, how many dudes are you just going to get cartwheeling their way out of these races?
And as a fan, you want to see
close racing. Yeah.
You know, and that you want to see the best tracks and you want to see the best racing, but that is one massive differentiator between all the riders, is that section, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in the lights classes.
Yeah, and then I liked, just to stay on the track topic before we get off it, I really liked the sander after the whoops. I think Marvin had a really cool line through there. Fucking Frenchies, bro. They always have those sick little lines, don't they? Those little sneaky buggers. Yeah, it's just finesse. And again, I think that it's because he probably had a hard time getting around him at the start, and being a little dude, he's really got to pick and choose and place his bike. Porcel was the same. Porcel's a tiny dude. But yeah, he had a really cool line after the finish line, which he was sort of like really like timing it and then using maybe like this sort of second last like mound to sort of pop up and then over, which was really cool. The finish line, they had like this really big bowl turn before the finish line, which I thought would be a bit more at play than what it was. Adam Cincerillo, he almost kind of could run it in at Ferrandis on the last lap there, but it was just, you could carry too much speed through the outside on that bowl turn for him to, like, he would have really had to run it in at high speed. And yeah, none of those dudes are throwing that away. We should actually watch the highlights from it. Seattle highlights. Why are they putting 2-minute highlights, man? Like, it's a 20-minute race and you're giving us 2 minutes of highlights. Is that the cool thing that happened? Like, was it 2 minutes worth of shit? Like, fucking hell. It's pretty lame. So, yeah, pretty cool start too, man. Like, I think it was fair. Yeah, this was bad, dude. We'll talk about it later, though. Moose was out of there, man. He really I think he really knew what he had to do tonight. Yeah. And I think he knew, fuck, that crash is bad. Yeah, he's not. That sucks. But yeah, so I guess here is the jump. And I mean, he made a lot of time, dude. Like, he's just streaking away at this point, you know. Really don't agree. Like, you could tell he sort of looked back there and was like, he knew he fucked up, but then I think it was just head down, sort of like he's even looking as he goes over the triple there. But yeah, that first turn was that turn before the finish. Like, yeah, dude, Sealy was getting through the whoops really good, which sort of tells me that Honda just has the bike dialed.
It's obviously coming well into its development program now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true too, man. Yeah, bummer, bro. Yeah, Coop was not... just another crazy night for Cooper. Say you, like, need a little bit of luck to win championships. Yeah, Eli was just committed to skimming the whoops the whole time, man. Yeah, so anyway, that's the old highlights. Yeah, the sand section there was pretty cool. It was weird. Like, the whole, I don't know. What was the next topic? Are we going straight into that, or what's the?
What we got to get to, I guess, is devastating crash.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll go. We posted this yesterday on Gypsy Tales. If you guys don't follow us on Facebook and Instagram, do all that stuff because we're always kind of posting shit. So yeah, at Gypsy Tales Podcast is pretty much how you'll find everything. I'll just full screen this. So I grabbed this last night when the crash went down. So we'll just play this as good a quality as we can. Dude. So yeah, get through. So like really, he's just lit it up there, and not had like he didn't get traction at all, dude. If you go back and watch. Oh, I see where you were saying he got traction.
Got a bucket load towards the end.
Yeah,
but at that point
so like he's just completely just spinning there.
Yep.
And then he's sort of got on the gap. Or I wonder if I don't know why this quality is so, dude, this is really frustrating me today. So he's over the front and he's just hasn't got traction. So he's cased it there. So I wonder if, so who is on the, so that's Brees there on the KTM. So I wonder if he's like pulled Chad back. So just like watch it here. So Chad's there, and then he's... So it's like, has that dude got his arm or something? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is Chad sort of hooked up with this dude, and then he hasn't been able to... Like, you see there, it really looks
definitely
like...
tangled up.
Yeah, like, it looks like his front... Like, where his clutch is actually, like, tangled up in this Breeze guy. Sorry to that. I'm just calling him Breeze. I just don't know who he is.
So even if Chad's off the throttle, it looks like he's being carried along.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he can get off the throttle here. It looks like he's
getting carried.
Yeah, he's, like, sort of stuck against him. And he's already off the back of the bike there. So it's like that. It seems like one of those freak deals, man, where he's just, like... And it's just launched him. So he's like, even here, or is it, you know, it could be like his foot peg, or there could be something going on to where he just didn't have control over that. And then he's gone across over the left into Brayton. So Brayton's already committed. That's the problem, is like all these dudes are super committed at this point, you know, like none of them can back out. This is the most hectic point of the race. So I wonder, so Brayton is kind of committed. It's like, it's veered Breeze off into the left, and then that's gone, and then that's hit Brayton. And like, dude, look how it just takes Brayton's front across.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen a dude go sideways through the air, and then Brayton lands on the back of his tire, dude. And is just like straight on the concrete. And then Chiz is already committed as well, and just fucking creams Chad. And you know the crazy thing, man, is like all those dudes are like really, really good friends. Like when Chisholm would ride with Chad a lot. So can you imagine being Chisholm and seeing Chad on the ground like that? You've already left the ground.
You're committed. You're in there.
And then you're just knowing that you're about to just cream one of your homies. And like, look where this shit hits Chad. So he's ended up with 8 broken ribs, a punctured lung, and a broken scapula, which is your shoulder blade. So
that's basically from Chisholm's tire.
Dude, bang. Yep. Look at that. Right on his fucking shoulder blade, dude. Like, that is so bad. And then, so I'd say... Dude, that's like all your ribs, lungs, everything. That's like that impact right there. And I broke one fucking rib and popped one rib out like 8 weeks ago. And that was a terrible, terrible fucking injury to go through. And now Chad's just done 8, a punctured lung, and the shoulder blade. Like, dude. And then look at the foot peg, bro.
Look at his head up in there.
Yeah, and he's just crunched against the dirt, the bike. Fuck. Oh.
I'll tell you what though, it does go to show the protective gear now, the helmets, the braces.
Yeah,
that impact is huge.
And there's like a lot of force on Chad's head too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he's getting crunched right here. It's so gnarly too when like this is what, and even when I was racing, man, this shit used to go through my head of like, I'd have a real big crash. Like I remember I had a huge first turn crash. We used to have a racetrack at Mariba, and it was a really fast first start straight, and I just had a guy come across me, and I just cartwheeled down the straight. I was unconscious, and just had all these bikes running over me and shit, and all I got was knocked out. And it's like, you could run this over, and it's the same with this crash. You could run this crash over so many times, and it's like a foot peg to the neck, like any fucking thing can happen in these. Like that's chaos right there. Like straight up chaos. And even Brayton so he's come out and said that he's fine, and he thinks he's sort of got a bit of could have like an ACL, MCL tear. But dude, look at Brayton through the air right now. Like he's just dead. Boom. Oh. That shit ain't no joke. And Chad is still under there somewhere.
And what about Chad's form? Just hop straight up like...
Dude, that was gangster too. Yeah. Like Chad's just there. He wouldn't have been able to breathe. All the wind would have been knocked out of him, and all he does is like...
Whip the goggles off.
Yep, I'm here. Gangster. Yep, I'm going to need some help.
Savage.
Straight fucking gangster. So shout out to Chad. Everyone knows he's one of the Gypsy gang. He's one of the homies. We love you, bro, and we hope that you aren't going to be in too much pain. They get you on some good meds, and you get home to see your family. We'll go on Ellie's Instagram because she has been she's been providing some updates. I'm not logged in there. Ellie Reed Instagram. Not creeping, everybody. This is part of bringing you guys information. Try and make you log in at every step. 8 broken ribs, broken scapula, and a collapsed lung. Why did I close that? Yeah, I think she actually put more stuff on her story. We'll just check that out real quick. Are you kidding? There's going to be a lot of shit we have to cut out here. Yeah, so I think she has posted some stuff. That's cool. Boost, get well soon. We're very much on the same trail of thinking. Nobby posting the vid. Everyone posting the vid. Alright. He was taken to a trauma center in Seattle. How do we slow these down? You can't do it on your bloody video.
Can you hold the mouse on it?
No, I'm trying to press it. Oh, yeah, pause. Here you go. Taken to a trauma center in Seattle. Biggest concern was a collapsed lung, so they kept him in hospital. Extent of other injuries sustained in last night's race will be shared once he has time to get all the correct information from the doctors. They're on FaceTime. So I think this is Brittany Chisholm posted this, who's obviously Kyle Chisholm's wife. Yeah, so I guess that must have just been what Chiz posted. First of all, just want to update some prayers for CR22 and Brayton. Yeah, he's just saying like same sort of stuff. Yeah, hurt his knee. So I thought this was Brayton that said he'd hurt his knee, but this is coming from Chiz. I'm doing alright, hurt my left knee and just needed to give it some time and see how it is. Hoping / thinking it's just a bad bone bruise and a sprain. Thankful that is all. We'll see in the next couple of days. By the way, this is not the knee I had surgery on last year. So I don't know about Brayton then. We'll go on Twitter later and have a look. Yeah, and then Chad posted. So that says another night in hospital, finally moving him to a room by himself, not in the ER where people were, ERs are fucked. Oh, dude, how's this? So, yeah, he almost got himself released, then he passed out when he sat up. Didn't pass that test. Yeah, I could imagine Chad would be like, get me the fuck out of here. Few stats. Saturday was the 249th overall and 64th consecutive race for Chad. So, yeah, Chad's run's going to stop at 64. So he wanted... Damn. So he was trying to get 250 starts. Fuck.
And that's 249.
So Chad's come up one short, man, of 250th starts. Dude, I was thinking about that, like, you know, everyone's obviously talking about... everyone's talking about Chad retiring, and even he was talking about retiring at the end of the year. But I could honestly see, like Chad's had a good season.
Yeah, he has.
One podium, been in some top fives. I think that if he had worked some starts out a bit earlier on in the season, that it would have been different. Like, he has been riding good, and the guys he's been battling with, like, there's 11 factory riders.
Yeah, and he's done one of the most important things. Beat his teammate.
Dude, 100%.
Whole season.
Yeah, he really has. He's been JGR's top dude. That's a fucking good point.
It's a huge stat for him. Like, he's just started on the development series of that bike.
Yeah.
And beat his teammate. And I think that's all you really... Obviously, you want to win championships, but you need to beat your teammate first.
Yeah, that's so true, dude. And also, man, like, so you think about... so for JGR going forward, and it's a bit of a... It's probably a topic that we're going to cover a little bit more in, like, the coming weeks. But I would be thinking that JGR is going to need Chad next year. And I think that when you look at, I guess, everything that they've going on in their program, like they need a big name rider, and I think that Marv actually might be on the. I think Marv might be on their list of guys that they're trying to get. I think they need a top tour dude. I think Marvin's kind of affordable if he doesn't win this series. If he wins his championship, he stays with KTM, I think. And there's probably a clause in his contract that means that he has to. But I think if he doesn't win this championship, he could be going to JGR. I think that he's obviously one of the top tier dudes, but I think he's more affordable than like a Ken or an Eli. So yeah, I could see him going to that program. And then, he's been on Red Bull KTM for 9-10 years.
Yeah, it's
hasn't won a 450 championship yet. I think that there's probably some stuff going on at the Baker's factory that he probably would benefit from getting away from, and I don't think he'd want it. I'm not saying he wants to, but I think he would benefit from it. Because you think about it, like, he had Ken come and, like, Marv beats dudes in practice there, but it's like, let's say Coop starts behind the 8 ball, goes to the Baker's factory, and then all of a sudden he just gets, like, to ride with the dude he's competing for all weekend. And then he gets to gauge the pace, learn the pace. He knows that Marv's going to be one of the top dudes. Marv's now won 8 races in the 450 class. So it's like Coop knows that if he can get there up around Marv every single day, then it's it's like a confidence booster. But it's almost like he's just showing all these dudes like how fast you need to go to be a top 450 guy.
It's like a development person.
It almost is, eh?
Yeah.
It's like you go there, you hang out with Marv, you see the speed, figure out how to beat him, and if you can beat Marv, then you're probably going to win the championship.
Yeah,
like it's a weird deal, eh?
It is, yeah.
So I mean, you think then, like, let's just play devil's advocate and say Marv goes to JGR. It's like he gets a test track by himself, and then let's say they keep on Chad, and now you've got one of the best testers in the sport, won 2 championships, still super competitive, but he's not going to be a guy that will probably battle you for the championship every single weekend. And that seems like a pretty solid recipe to do well. So, but then I think the JGR program's just, I don't know, it just seems troubled for whatever reason.
And having Chad there as well just brings people by the truck.
Yeah.
He's just such a fan favourite. So, you need someone like that in your team as well, quite often as well. Dude,
I really, really, really hope that Chad sticks around next year.
Same, especially that.
I think he will, dude. Like, he had a good enough run this year, man. 5 races to go, just misses out on 250. Like, he'll do, I think regardless, he just does A1 just to go and make the night show and kind of cruise around. But yeah, that was a bad crash, and I really, really hope those boys are alright. Still waiting to hear from Brayton. Might just go on Twitter real quick and see if anyone has posted any updates. I don't ever remember any of my logins. Let's see if I get this right. Boom! Alright, home. Just going to have a quick little scroll. Racer X, Chad Reed confirmed the Instagram post. He will miss the remainder of the season. No doubt. That fucking sucks. Oh, should we follow Ricky Carmichael on Twitter? Ricky, follow us back. Show me some love. It's either MMA or Supercross on my Twitter. I need to diversify. Kerry Hart. Sorry guys, it's probably fucking boring to watch me scroll Twitter. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't seem... I guess I could search Racer X. I feel like they're the most... Nope. Fuck. Come on. That's unlucky. Yeah, I think their latest tweet was Chad. Yeah, I guess no real updates on Brayton. I'll do some digging independently and see if we can find out any more about that. What do we got next to talk about?
we've just spoken about him a little bit, but Marv, the big moment of the night, obviously.
Yeah, so I guess we could talk about like the penalty and that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think something with the sport needs to change. I think at this level, the flags that were there, the medical flag, it should have been seen. You taught that right from racing juniors sort of thing. So
yeah,
he would have seen it. You can see in the footage that he's obviously seen as he's looking back. So he's realised it. Mistakes happen, but there needs to be a penalty. And I read the rules this morning to sort of clarify it, but I feel there needs to be a penalty placed in the race. I know other sports, for instance, MotoGP, if you overtake on a yellow flag, you get, it might still be, I'm not sure, but a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
And that's taken in that race. So you still get the chance to battle for first place, but you're not taken completely out of the race from because it's a silly mistake, but you haven't taken a guy out or done something like that, but you still get the chance to battle. You bring them in, for instance, into the mechanics box, they're actually out of the race from that point. So I think just if there is a way of a 10-second time penalty to be placed at the end, still gives you the chance to basically battle for that race at the end and see if you can gap the field by 10 seconds if that's a possibility. If it's not a possibility, you end up the position where you end up, which he ended up getting penalised. What was it? I think the rule is 2 spots plus 2 points.
Yeah, so it was 7 points
total.
In total, yeah. I agree. Like the problem with it for me is that I feel like as it stands now, that system could be gamed, if that makes sense. So like if it's 2 spots and 2 points, and you've got your like a championship rival, or let's say it happens at Vegas, and it ends up to where you could gap the dude that you need to beat by X amount or whatever, and it's like, is there a scenario where you could actually game this system, plan it out and go, you know what, I'm just going to do it, and it's not a big deal, I can still win the championship by doing this, or so it's like I feel like there's probably a few too many ways to where it's like it could be calculated. You could go, you know what, I can lose 2 points, but I can't lose this spot, or I can't lose this win, or let's say then that because it's wins, right? Let's say Marv and Coop are tied on points, right? The series finishes at Seattle. They're tied on points, but with this win, Marv would have 1 extra win on the season.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has.
So he wins the championship.
Yeah. And it has been decided that he still gets the win.
Exactly. So that's where, to me, it seems sketchy, is it's like, this is a rule that can be gamed that could affect the championship in a really heavy way that would leave a very salty taste in my mouth as a Supercross fan.
Yeah.
And if it came down to that fact of tied on points, Marv knew, obviously it's hard to know where Cooper's going to end or whatever, but I mean, you can figure that stuff out on the track. And yeah, let's just say it works out that bang, tied on points, Seattle's the last round. This would give Marv 4 wins, Cooper has 3. Marv wins the title. Yeah. And so to me, that's what I don't like about this whole situation. The other thing is people saying that, like, oh, he would have won the race anyway, or this or that. That's, to me, is bullshit, because no one can say that. No one can say, like, it's super obvious, and Marv, and again, this isn't anything against Marv. I think that should be stated. If this happened to Ken or Cooper or whoever, I still think the same thing. If you're going to gain an advantage on the first lap of a main event, and then you also don't know what's going through Ken's head. Ken could have spent that entire main event thinking that Marv was going to get docked 10 seconds or whatever. So, then if Ken has a comfortable gap on Eli in third, thinks Marv's going to get a penalty, which is going to give him the win, doesn't really bother racing. Marv races away to the front, then we don't have a main event.
You get the chance taken away from you to watch a great main event.
Everybody does. The fans, I feel like the fans get ripped off. I feel like Ken gets ripped off. And I feel like Marvin knows he did the wrong thing, but he's still credited with the win. And like the Valentino Rossi example, like you were telling me about the race where Valentino got red flag, copped the penalty, and then just raced the clock to make sure he could still win. It's fucking epic. That's an epic story. That's an epic way for a guy to be penalised and then know what his penalty is and then fight his way through it. And even, I thought about that yesterday when Marv, he's looking at, this goes to show how smart these dudes are. So Marv is looking at the tower to see how long he's got to go before he crosses for the last lap. So he knew in his head that he was going to be about 2 seconds. If he did a full heater, he was going to be about 2 seconds too late for them to put out the white flag lap. So Marv then stops, essentially, makes sure that the white flag comes out, so he's only got 1 lap. Which is like, that's perfectly fine. He's gaming, that's being a gamer. That's being a smart racer. That's racecraft. Can never take that away from a dude. But in a situation where Marv gets, say, a 10-second penalty because he's done the wrong thing at the start of the lap, the start of the race, you can't do that because that's 2 seconds, bro. You're not giving up that 2 seconds. And you don't know whether that could force a mistake that could then give Ken the win, or that could give Cooper another spot. There's so many variables that you take out of play by doing a stock standard 2 points plus 2 positions. And to me, it just seems like a bit of a joke. Like, you don't see that in any other form of motorsport. You don't see that in Formula One. You don't see that in NASCAR. No. It's a drive-through penalty or it's a time penalty. And I think that in the way that this championship is unfolding, the fact that this was a dead rubber, like this main event essentially didn't happen in the points chase, which is unfortunate at this point with 5 races to go, that we're in such an incredible series, and now this race essentially doesn't matter. It can matter when it comes down to it, because if Marv didn't do that, he gets the win, then we're looking at a dead heat for the points lead coming out of Seattle. So it's like, if Marv didn't do this, then we're talking about a 5-round series, which is crazy to think about. But we're talking about a dead rubber now.
Yeah.
But then on the same time, it's like, I feel a bit ripped off. And then especially, this was like my one thing that really pissed me off about the whole situation as well, was the fact that the broadcast is going, right? So this happens on the first lap. The broadcast is going, and they're sort of mentioning it. They're like, oh, there will be a penalty. But it's like, what's the fucking penalty?
Yeah. And like,
who has... what? No one's got that information. We end the broadcast going, well, it's the unofficial results. Fuck you and your unofficial results.
Like, here's 2 guys in Australia that have read the rule book and found it straight away.
Yeah.
Why can't the international broadcast have that straight away?
You're telling me that I've just sat down and watched Supercross for fucking 4 hours of my Sunday, and I leave not knowing who won the race? And it's like, oh, well, they say, oh, Marv still won the race. There's no clarity at all that comes from that. And he didn't win the race. He fucking cheated. Again, he didn't mean to do it. I can understand how it happens and why it happens, and it's no slight against Marv. But the dude fucking cheated. He did something that is against the rules. That is what cheating is. And I'm supposed to be happy that he still wins the race, and I'm supposed to be happy that on my NBC Gold it says coverage has concluded, and that what? I need to go to Twitter for Racer X to tell me that I won who won the race? Just dog shit, dude, in my opinion. And then you go straight back into the LCQ. Can you find the rider who got jacked on the LCQ? Did you hear about that?
Nah.
Oh, you might. Oh, you're not on there at the moment. Who? What? Oh, I'm not. I'm never going to be able to find it. I'm sorry I don't know the guy's name. Basically, one of the guys made the main through the LCQ. He got punted off the track, went around the triple. They're saying that he accelerated
I did see this in the broadcast footage.
Oh, was this in the wrap up?
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Yeah.
I think it is actually.
We'll have a look. We got time. I wonder. Let's have a quick look. I'm not playing your ad. Not on my podcast. I will have silence for 15 seconds. Unless Mazda wants to sponsor us. Then we'll play that shit. Alright, we're back. 250. Dude, AC's been doing this a bit. Like, look at... He has the whole shot. Fuck, way too deep. He did that at Anaheim. Like, he's done that a bunch of times this year. And, like, look how buried he got. Yeah. He saved it. Like, obviously it was a good save. But, like, fuck, dude. Can't be doing that shit, AC. Shout out to Jimmy D. Man, Colt Nichols had a bad crash too. I haven't actually heard what his injuries are either.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Nah. What? Have you seen it?
No, I didn't see this.
Yeah, he got fucking smoked, bro. It sucks. Yeah, here. OJ Cardone.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Like, he walks off, but I feel like there could be some hip or knee stuff there that was not cool for him. So crazy Ferrandis got his first win. Like, when they said that, I was like, what? He's won before.
So this is the first?
That was his first win, man. But he's been hurt so much, like in Supercross. AC, beautiful pass. Fuck, he looks so good again. Ferrandis was doing the quad every lap, like so smooth. Yeah, Ferrandis was another dude that just stayed committed to the to skimming him. Well, I wonder if they'll show this quad. How, again with the hot, they like don't even show the quad that like basically decided the race. The fuck?
They say it, but they don't even show it.
Yeah. Who cuts these? That's a lot of hair, eh? Yeah, so they they didn't mention it. Anyway, one of the dudes in the LCQ, he got punted off, went around, didn't gain a position, like he was in front of the dude that punted him.
Yep.
And then get straight on the track. He pinned it though he pinned it to get back on track because obviously he's still in the race. And then they just didn't let him line up for the main. That's literally disqualified. You got disqualified. And technically he didn't break the rules.
No.
So we're looking at a situation where Marv broke the rules. Everyone agrees with Marv breaking the rules. Marv agrees that he broke the rules.
Yeah.
And then you get a guy who, like, technically he went around he got pushed off track, went around, returned at the first option that was safe to do so. He looked left, made sure no one was coming,
like the rules state.
Like the rule state, didn't gain a position, like the rule state, and gets fucking disqualified. The dude just drove to Seattle to qualify through the LCQ and gets fucked by Gallagher.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And so, like, where did he show me where he broke the rules? That's like a judgment call of like, "Whoa, you went pretty fucking fast, like, to get back on the track."
How fast?
That's what I mean.
No one knows.
Super subjective.
So how fast? Where? What?
It's like, that was a sketchy call. And I'm really glad that because Ricky said it on the broadcast. He was like, yeah, don't agree with that call. That was wrong. And I totally agree. So you can just on a whim disqualify, dude. The exact same thing happens to Tyler Bowers. Barsha and him have had a history. Like, Barsha cleaned him out. I want to say it was Vegas last year. Barsha cleans Bowers out, breaks his fucking leg, races the main. Bowers hits Barsha, gets disqualified. No injuries, both of them keep racing, gets disqualified. What the fuck is going on here?
No consistency.
No, zero consistency. And like, it goes on and on and on. There are so many examples with so many riders that have had all of these crazy rulings thrown at them. And then, surprisingly, the Dungey rule, as it's now called, because they didn't want to strip Dunge of a win in the championship hunt. And now you've got another KTM up front, Roger DeCoster, pretty heavy hitter in the industry.
Quite influential, isn't he?
Yes. same team, same issue. We're not going to strip a win away. And it's just like, I mean, I'm scratching my head. As a fan, I'm scratching my head. And I'm a fan of Marvin. Like, I like Marvin. He's a fucking awesome dude.
Yeah, it's not a personal thing.
You
But
know,
he cheated.
Exactly. And it's like, it's frustrating. And it really was frustrating. The biggest thing. And I look at this through the lens of trying to get more people to watch our sport. Trying to get more people looking at the sport. That's like the lens that I'm going through. So it's like you log on or you're watching it live or whatever. You don't know much about Supercross. And then you're watching these guys race. And then it's like, under review, shuts off. They don't know to go to Racer X's Twitter feed. They don't know to fucking follow Jason Wygant. It's like, if you're not in the industry and like refreshing your Twitter feed, you don't know what the fuck's going on. And I think that sucks for a fan. And it's like, to me, that is like the biggest issue that I've got with it. And
if that was your first race that you'd ever watched, a guy does something wrong, like anyone can see that.
It'd be so hard to follow.
You'd be like, okay, so this guy's broken a rule, but he's still going, and we don't know what actually happens to him.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense.
No.
You know, it really wouldn't. So there needs to be some sort of amendment there made. And it's such a rare thing. That's the trouble. Like,
it is a rare thing, but it's like, we're talking millions of dollars here.
Yeah.
Like, Marv keeps $100,000 check from KTM. That's a win bonus
so
from KTM. He keeps $100,000 check. His photo's on the top step of the podium. Yeah. That trophy's going to his house. Like, there's a lot of shit at work here.
Yep.
His mechanic gets a bonus. So, like, you know, I'm sure Ken wouldn't... Alright, so I'll go to then. I don't want to just sit here and bitch about this and then not offer some kind of solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there has to be... There's probably too much of that in the world at the moment. My idea or my thoughts is, there's two things. Do we just do a flat timed penalty? This is what it's worth. Doesn't matter on the time you gained, on the time nothing. But even then, it's like, that gets fucking sketchy, because you say you just take it off a time gain. What if you gain 5 seconds but you get a 10-second penalty? So really you only get a 5-second penalty, if that makes sense. So it's like, do we do a flat rate thing? Or what I think would be the appropriate punishment is, there should be, and I've got a feeling they tried this at some point. I'd really need to like research this, or someone DM me or tweet me if this is a thing. But I've got a feeling that at some point they did like a penalty lane where you had to actually pull into the mechanics area and then stop for... It might have been in Australia, dude, where they did it actually. Maybe it was at Super X. So my thing is there should be a lane at every single race to where if you make an infringement... Like, and I think this applies for the going off track thing. Like, you should not be disqualified from a race unless you've done something wrong. Like, really, really, really wrong. Like almost like a professional foul in football.
Yeah. Yep.
So where you have intentionally done something to ruin somebody else's chances of success, and you've cheated to make it happen. I think that's the only time where you do that, or like a fight or something like that.
Yep.
But why can't we have a penalty lane where you come around? It's the mechanics area. You've got a board, an official there with the board. I'm actually 100% this was actually at Super X, man. I remember Kevin Williams being the dude that did it, or like one of the WM crew. You got a board there. It's a penalty, and then the penalty is a penalty, and then you shoot back off onto track. You regain the pack, and then you fight your way for the position. That's just fair. There's no, because like, let's say we just run a 10-second penalty or whatever we call it. If you do gain 5 seconds in a jump or in a rhythm lane because you've jumped it, then you're not getting a 10-second penalty, and then it's like you've got to sit there with a clock, and that just seems like it's quite hard to figure out and a lot of room for error, if you ask me. But I think that if you went down this route of a penalty lane, you pull in, it's 10 seconds of a stop, you've got to kill your bike or whatever, fucking don't kill your bike, whatever the details are. That's officiated, bang, you re-enter the race. And I think then that's fair. You can't, it doesn't matter how much you gained by, nothing else matters. Everybody, it's easy to follow. You get the little split camera down in the corner showing the dude in the penalty box, and then bang, you're back on track. That's as fair a way as you could do it. If you break the rules, that's where you go.
Do you think if Marv yesterday gave a position back to Ken, like just slowed down, let Ken get in front, and then went again, we'd be talking about this now?
Yeah, I don't know. But see, then it's like you're just letting the riders decide, which seems weird that they have to even be the ones that would adjudicate themselves.
Because like in, I know it happens in supercars a little bit. They do that a little bit, where if you've cut a corner or something, if you go back into the position behind, you've sort of self-adjudicated because it was a mistake. Like it's still a mistake. Sure. So that was another thing I was thinking, like, but what riders wanted to do that when there's no rule saying that's what we have to do? So that is a tough one. But I think that, man, all right. So let's say that did happen and Marv does pull in behind Ken, gives Ken the position, and then starts racing. You probably wouldn't have seen a penalty. No, I don't think. But it's just too wishy-washy. You can't. You know? And I think that if Marv did that, he probably wins the race anyway. For sure. So yeah, but I mean, I really do think that some kind of like penalty box. It's a time. It's essentially a drive-through penalty. Yep. Every form of motorsport racing on planet Earth has a drive-through penalty. Yep. And then for the case of the poor dude in the 250 LCQ that got fucked. Let's make no mistake about that. He got fucked by them. In his case, let's say he does that and you want to penalise him, which he shouldn't have been penalised in my opinion. You make him start the race from the penalty box. And as soon as the gate drops, your 10 second starts and then you're at a 10-second disadvantage. Yep. Or after the first lap, which gives him a chance to whole shot, be with the front dudes, get a 10-second penalty, pull in with the pack. But even like, let's say we do this. That's like a whole different element to racing. It gives everyone more to talk about. It gives way more storylines. It's going to give people more ammunition 2 and 4. It's like right now I'm just sitting here just thinking like this Gallagher dude's an idiot. That doesn't add to the sport for me. This doesn't add to any like excitement of the racing. There's no cool storyline in me thinking that dude's a dick. Nah. That's just fucking annoying for me as a fan. And it's hard to take because when there is inconsistencies, it just leaves you with the shits, which is where I'm at right now. So, I don't know. They have to do something about it. And it is rare. And the problem is, it's like we talk about it and then it goes away. It happened to Dunge, it's happened again now. But it's like, it is important and it has happened enough to where it's like, we should do something here. Yeah. And I don't think, like, Jason Anderson last year blows out the front wheel at New York, comes in, gets front wheel change, goes back out. There's no, like, that's not dangerous. No. There's no, no sketchy thing. If it's an allocated zone where you have to pull it, like, it's doable. It's fair. Yeah. Everyone knows. And then it gives Marvin a chance to be a fucking badass and still win the race. Yeah. So, anyway. Woo! Something needs to happen.
Rant over.
Definitely something needs to improve.
We needed to talk about it. It was fucking bullshit, dude. Like, it was so annoying to watch that. What else we got?
Eli, 3rd in the points. Obviously, yesterday with the line through the whoops, he wasn't changing up. Struggled a bit. This is sort of it's like an area that he'd be good at.
I think Wygant nailed it when he said that those boys need to start practicing that shit. Totally agree. It's just weird, like, dude, like the Eli Tomac at Daytona, man. We see that dude every weekend. No one's fucking even looking at him, but he just doesn't. It's just not the dude that we see every weekend. It's just bizarre. I don't know.
It's crazy.
I just don't know what to do about the whole Eli Tomac thing. He could be such a dominant force, and I would love to know what is really going on there, but I don't.
Behind the scenes, within Kawasaki.
Yeah, that is a good point. You bring that up. So Mike Williamson left the team, so he was basically the team principal. which is, I guess, like a Formula One term that they were using for him. He pieces out, and that shows, I don't know, it could show that there's some unrest in that camp. It could show Eli's not happy with the way things are getting done. Maybe he's not happy with the speed at which they're getting done. I know, like, so you talk about we talk about like Todd. So when he rode for Factory Honda, so it'd take, like, if he wanted to change his triple clamps, he's looking at like a fucking long time just to get something changed. And I think that that's where you see the whole KTM program really come to life, is that they're just like bang, 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 bang. You want this change, you want this done, you want this done, bang, it's done.
Innovation, yep.
Yeah, just on it. They're giving these dudes everything that they can, and they're giving it to them quick. Teams like Kawasaki, teams like Honda, Factory Yamaha, the Japanese are the Japanese. And anyone that has worked in any of those teams knows that that's how it works. Like, they are doing shit every single letter by the book. And they're going to test, and they're going to go over, and they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And by the time you get your new triple clamps, you're fucking 40 points off the lead in the championship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know whether... Yeah, I don't know enough to really give anyone information about it, but I can speculate on, you know, the kind of stuff. Because, I mean, like, logistically, team gets the races, seems like a good dude. He won a lot of championships with Villapoto. He won a lot of championships with James. Like, this isn't some random dude that's come in and hasn't done well. He's got a track record. So, I mean, and again, this is assuming that it was something within the team where they were unhappy. I mean, he could have had family issues. He could have had anything. But if we're just going to play that side of the coin where there was something wrong with the team, then it's like, yeah, I wonder if Eli's frustrated with the bike. He can't get it where he needs it to be. And, you know, someone had to go. Eli's not going anywhere.
Nah. For me, it just seemed, you know, I read his statement, and to effective immediately, like,
yeah,
the Friday of Seattle, that's just really strange, like mid-season for a team, especially with the championships he's had with the team.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, maybe it is what it is, but yeah, it just seemed a little bit odd, especially with the results coming through Eli and that.
Yeah, they won a national championship last year.
Yeah, it's huge. So, I don't know. It's, yeah, very strange. And obviously the 250 program's going great guns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just was very surprised when I read it.
Yeah, and it you know, if you're looking into it and you're a betting man, you're thinking more likely than not that there's trouble in the camp in some way, shape or form, you know? What's next, bro?
What do we got? Cooper.
Yeah, man, fuck. Coop got off scot-free. Like, it was basically Seattle for Cooper Webb was a non-event. Didn't happen. Didn't matter in the points. Went nowhere. That's like, really, if you can't gain, that's like the next best thing. So, didn't look good. He didn't look good in the whoops, which has been the thing that he's struggled with in general. Even, like, he was one of the guys doing the quad, but he wasn't doing the quad well. It really looked like it was a pucker moment for him every time that he was doing it. But still, man, like, talk about doing what you got to do to get the job done. He, still got the red plate, still leading by 7 points, and had a really shit night by his standards. Like, he was a long way off Marv. It'd be interesting to know what causes those nights, because I think it's like it's clear to see that he does have those bad nights, but I don't know what causes them, you know? So I wonder, I get the feeling it's a setup thing, because obviously we've seen how fit he is, and to be honest, it would be harder, like, it would show up more if he was unfit, I think, more than now. So I don't think it's like a fitness thing. Yep. I feel like he struggles with certain tracks at the moment, and then with certain, like, bike setup, setup issues. But obviously when we had Townley doing this with us the other week, his insight was crazy in the way that, how he sort of gets away with, or how he rides a track makes him so hard to deal with for the guys that are in front. Also got a bad start, which was never going to be easy coming through the pack that we've got, especially on a track that you're not 100% comfortable with. Could he have held off Ken for second if he started in front of him? Maybe. But I think Ken and Marv were on a different level. I think Eli was definitely had so much more in the tank, just sort of struggled through the whoops and fell off the back of those two. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, really, it was a wash for Coop. And at this point, with we got 5 races to go.
Yeah, yep.
To come out of a race at this stage in the game with, just dead rubber. Pretty much the race didn't happen. I think that's like as massive as a deal as you can get, unless you actually put points into these dudes. Mentally, though, is it going to be harder? And I guess, this going back to the Marv thing. So, like, it just doesn't upset his confidence at all. There's no hit to Marv. He didn't lose points to Coop. He didn't gain any, but he did gain momentum. He did gain confidence. And that is maybe worth more than 7 points heading into the last 5 rounds of this championship.
Could be for sure.
Maybe, maybe that's another thing that you've really got to factor in when you look at this whole penalty situation is, how much of a factor momentum plays into this game. So, yeah, crazy one. But regardless, Coop come out unscathed, considering he had a pretty shit night.
Got another one. We've obviously just left Seattle. 262 points for Webb. 239 for Roxon back in 4th. 5 rounds to go. Now, I guess, the pressure for that win, and last night maybe was that win, or
Well, Ken didn't win the race.
No.
And even like we said before, let's say that Marv turns around, lets Ken pass, maybe he doesn't win. But that's so speculative to say. But I think 2 8th place weekends for Ken in a row.
Yeah, that's
bad. But to rebound with a second, if Ken was as sick as he said he was, just to be out there and, getting 8th is a big deal. And a really, sort of good showing for him. But that he is down a lot of points.
23 points.
Yeah, you'd have to think something would have to happen at Coop. And then Marv's pretty close. And then you've got Eli there as well. I mean, he's definitely not out of it by any means, but Ken Roxon has a job to do if he's going to win this championship. But is that a good... I'm not going to say a good place, but it's like that pressure now puts Ken in a spot where that pressure's sort of gone, and now it just becomes about doing what he can do to get a race win. And is that what it takes maybe to... get him on a roll that all of a sudden, Ken starts stringing together. Let's say he wins 3 of these last 5 races. And it's is he right back in that conversation come Vegas? Vegas is going to be crazy, dude.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
If Coop doesn't run away and get himself a 10 to 15, 15 point lead, Vegas is going to be a crazy race. And Eli's always good at Vegas. So Eli's going to be that dark horse dude come Vegas that could really upset the apple cart, or the orange cart, really. So, yeah. But, I mean, for Ken, I think at this point, all he really needs to focus on is just trying to get some race wins. And I think, he's going to be solid at Honda again next year, and just keep building.
And for Ken, this is the first time in a few years to be racing these tracks.
Yeah, that's true.
This is huge. He hasn't, obviously, the injuries both years with both arms. This is the first time. So this is a big thing for him again.
And you got to think with Ken as well that he's got this sickness that he's fighting, but it's is he sick, or is it just that he hasn't done this workload of the training through the week and then the racing and the traveling? He's been out at this point every year. So it's it's just got to be draining. Are we just seeing can feel those kind of rookie feelings again almost after essentially 2 years off to get back into that full-blown grind. And you can train all you want and you can do the laps, but let me tell you, when you've got flights, you've got time changes, you've got autograph signings, you've got all this extra stuff that gets thrown at you as the Ken Roxon of our sport. It's a different game, dude. And it's not something you can prepare for. You know yourself, man. You've been traveling this weekend. You feel cooked.
Yeah.
So imagine the workload then, and the private jet days are done. Like, these are normal guys going to these races now.
And like, you look at Ken's schedule, Indy last week, so middle of the country, similar.
Yeah.
He would have went back to Sandbox.
Yeah.
And then all the way back over to Seattle.
Yeah.
That's
3 hour time difference too. Like, the mains for the dudes that live on the East Coast, those mains started at 12:30 at night.
Wow.
That's weird, bro. So you're racing well into 1 a.m. in the morning your time.
So everything in your own program that you do daily changes.
Yeah.
It's huge. So there's obviously a lot going on there as well.
Yeah, for sure.
We're pretty much done.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What else do we have to talk about?
Pretty much main topics from yesterday.
Just go on a bit of a freestyle then for the last little bit. I think we've done like about an hour talking about it, which is pretty cool. Shout out to Dylan Ferrandis, got his first win. Kind of said it before, can't believe that was his first win. Guess we sort of covered that. Get well soon to Colt Nickel, get well soon to Chad and JB. Also Chisholm, hopefully his knee is alright. He's definitely a really, really, really good dude. I just want to talk about Moto Spy. If there might be a lot of you that have seen us from Moto Spy, which is really cool. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about just that series, right? So obviously we're a little bit a part of it with the guys at Red Bull putting us in it. But I really started to think about this kind of stuff the other day with everything, is that our sport, and I sort of spoke about it with Townley a little bit, and we're starting to do things now in our sport that mimic other sports. Like the UFC is something that I'm super into, that I follow, and you've got all these different dudes that are doing podcasts and all this different stuff. And I mean, even I can see in the comments of this shit when I look that it's like, oh, everyone's got a podcast these days, blah blah blah. But it's like, let's just get this shit on more people's radar. And in particular, when it comes to Moto Spy. So I was just in Cairns and my girlfriend was there, and we sat down and her dad is like, oh, what are you up to? Or like, what have you been working on? Blah, blah, blah. I showed him Moto Spy. Never watched a Supercross race in his life. And he was like fully into it. What they've done with Moto Spy is, this isn't like a writing edit that you've got to be into to watch. This is like Hard Knocks. It's Last Chance U. It's a reality-based, dramatic documentary series. And anyone can watch this shit. So I guess my point is with all of this is like, we've got a chance now with people, like the crew, Wes and his boys that are doing Moto Spy, and then you've got the guys at Red Bull there in the motorsports division that are a complete group of legends. And they're pushing every day to make like this really cool content that is applicable to not just like a moto fan base. Show people. If you're a moto dude and you're one of the 125,000 people that watched episode 3 of Moto Spy, show people. Share it. Put a link on your Instagram, put a link on your Facebook, and write, hey, even if you're not into motocross, you probably will like this. And I'm not saying it because we're in it. I'm saying it because here's a piece of content that stands alone. It's not just this motocross, specialty web edit, fucking play some punk rock and do some whips. Like, there's real story here. There's real drama. Like, at the end of that last episode, when they're showing Coop and Can after like losing by that, literally the closest margin in Supercross history, that's fucking dramatic, dude.
Yeah,
that shit really had me like, holy fuck.
You can't create emotion like that.
No, dude, you can't script it better than what they've done there. So for me, I'm like, damn, we really have a responsibility now to like add to the culture of motocross. And I think that we are in a new age of motocross to where, dude, even the video that we shared yesterday has, let's refresh it and we'll see what it's got. Oh, where is it at? Oh, Facebook Watch. I love how they pull you there. But yeah, you know, it's like we shared this video yesterday and it's got 220,000 views and 1,900 shares. It's like, we are involved in one of the coolest sports in the world. And we've got some of the coolest personalities in the world that are doing it. It's like we've got to, like, everyone that is into this sport and rides on the weekend or loves these races and follows it, we've all got a platform now. We've all got social media. We've all got a voice. And at times I think it's retarded that we've all got a voice and it goes the other way. But in terms of like growing the sport and seeing what, you know, what can be achieved, like, look, that, you know, that's 220,000 views in 22 hours. It's like we can get this shit out there to people. And if the more people that see this is the more resources that a company like Red Bull is going to put into a season 4 of Motospy. And then the more, then for them to put money into Motospy, they need to be sponsoring athletes, they need to be sponsoring teams. Like, there's a whole big wheel that turns here as a result of people engaging with the sport. And it's like, if you're too cool to share or like a post, or then fuck, what are you doing? You know? So, I mean, that was like, I guess, something that's been on my mind is it's like, let's all collectively add to the culture here. Let's do our bit to make all of this shit better. You know, better viewing experience. We get more money going to the riders. We have more events. We have more shit to talk about. More races to go to. So it's like, in my head, that's, you know, and to be honest, dude, like, I don't really want to sit here and do this shit and put myself out there to have people, you know, leave negative comments and carry on. Like, I don't fucking care to have that shit in my life. But it's like, at the same time, if you've got a voice and you've got a platform and if you've got experience and if you know these guys, then it's like, I almost now feel a responsibility to share some of the stuff that I know and to, you know, we've got this cool studio. I've got you that helps me with this stuff. It's like, we can do this. So it's like, almost like, if you can, you must, sort of thing. And I think that more people should have that attitude and really try and make the sport grow. So yeah, that's my little rant to end this edition of the Supercross Companion. You can follow us on Instagram at Gypsy Tail Podcast, and it's the same on Facebook. We don't have a podcast Twitter yet, but it's just Jace McAlpine. I'm just trying to do that a little bit more. And if you want to follow Mick, it is at M33 Productions on Instagram. Then follow him out from there. Big week coming up for us in terms of just the podcast in general. Jack Freestone's coming on. He's on the World Surfing Tour. Ryan Gambin, former Olympian, first Maltese Olympian. I got a couple other cool dudes coming on as well. But yeah, still trying to get it all figured out. But yeah, so you can listen to this on iTunes. You can leave a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, just get in touch, get social, get amongst it, cunts. Mick, thank you very much for helping out today, as always. And we'll get this edited, get it online, and fucking make it happen.
Cool.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.